This is Grunt Squad, brought to you in the studio of Wiley Productions, with Sam Mann and Nate Westlake, bringing you all the spreads, picks, and player props.
Welcome in to the Grunt Squad.
Grunt Squad?
Week 7, Episode 6. Gets me every time. I'm your host, Sam Mann, and my co-host today, Blake Farver, Nate Westlake, in the studio with me today.
What up, peeps?
How are you, gentlemen, this morning?
Good, bro.
Good, bro.
How are you?
I'm fired up. I'm fired up, to say the least.
The reason for the fire, some might ask, would say that unfortunately this was our first losing week so far this season. Nate, do you want to give us a short recap of what happened?
I'm embarrassed, for one. Yep, we went 0-3 in our game plays. Lions +3, that's as bad as it gets. That was over within, 6 minutes of that game.
It's over
Prop
quick.
bets, I think, were barely above even. But, hey, it's inevitable. We've yet to have a losing week, and it was coming eventually. So, I'm a little mad. I'm a little ticked off this morning, but, hey, we're going to grind, and we're going to bounce back this week, boys.
Back on the horse this week.
Yeah,
That's
back
it.
on the horse, and let's get into it.
Nothing like a caramel macchiato can fix, right? Dinking and dunking over there.
Yeah, why not?
Well, let's talk about some things.
That was so corny last week.
Listen, I'm all about the coffee.
Hey, it was good.
Yeah, but my Derek Carr comment,
Hey, I love it.
it didn't come out like I wanted it to, but
That's close enough.
it worked.
So things that caught our attention this week. Let's talk about and recap the Monday night game, San Francisco, Minnesota. Incredible, upset for Minnesota. Blake, we saw Kirk Cousins play elite football. Brock Purdy not as much. What else did you see that caught your attention or that surprised you in that game?
Yeah, I mean, the offensive line for Minnesota is really, they really stepped up, especially against that 49ers defense, arguably one of the best in the league. Arguably. They're definitely up there. But, man, between the offensive line for Minnesota and just the lack of a pass rush the 49ers were sending, it just didn't seem like they were really focused on getting pressure on Cousins, and the few times that they did, he got the ball out quick and got it to his playmakers, and he's doing it without Justin Jefferson and Addison without for a little while. I mean, there's so much to talk about with Cousins. I think he's playing himself into the conversation, at least for MVP. He's definitely in the category there.
Whoa. But, yeah, numbers-wise, yeah. I mean, you said that earlier, and I was like, is he joking? But then you look at the numbers and, goodness gracious, this guy's just week in and week out getting it done. And the defense stepped up last week. I mean, Brian Flores doesn't have the personnel. It's not elite, but he's got him playing tough, got him in the right positions. I don't understand why San Francisco played cover 2 all night last night. What was that all about? Kirk Cousins is seeing cover 2. Yeah. He sees cover 2 in his sleep. He knows exactly where to go versus cover 2. They were just rushing 4. In Bosa and company, guys.
Where is he?
Bosa's got 2.5 sacks on the year, and I don't know what is going on with Bosa in this group. I think some of
It's
it
off in Maui somewhere, probably.
Yeah, he could be. He could be a couple nights in Tijuana or something. I don't know. But, hey, guys, DeMeco Ryans is no longer at the helm. He's no longer coaching these guys up on defense. Before that, Robert Saleh. So they've lost 2 really good defensive coordinators back-to-back years. And granted, they're still really good defensively. I mean, Greenlaw has to stay healthy. He was in and out of that game on and off. I'm not sure he was 100%. But
Warner too.
And Warner, Warner too.
A couple times too.
Yeah, and Ward played well, but he bit on that one play at the end of the half. That was a momentum shifter going into the half.
Huge, and a phenomenal play by Addison.
Phenomenal play, and it was actually a bad throw. It was actually a really bad throw, and he jumped it, he got it, but Addison made the better play and took it to the house, and that was probably the difference in the game. But give Kirk Cousins all the credit in the world for sticking in there. He took a couple shots staring down the barrel and just
hung in there.
Hung
Yes,
in
he
there.
did.
It makes you, and when you see that as a teammate, I mean, we've all played enough. Man, you're just like that gets you all fired up. And when you see your QB taking one on the chin like that,
You rally around him.
You're
Yeah.
damn right, Samuel. You're damn right there.
absolutely, yeah. 35 for 45, 378, 2 touchdowns. Addison, obviously that we touched on.
He had 378.
Cousins did, yeah.
He almost hung 400 last night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's playing elite football and not turning the ball over at an alarming rate.
Yeah, it's the biggest thing for him when we talk MVP conversation is, are they going to win enough games and put themselves in a position to, because obviously if you don't have a winning record, you're not going to get votes. I mean, that's just that's how this thing works.
And give Kevin O'Connell a lot of credit here, guys. Kevin O'Connell is one of the best play callers on the planet. He's done a phenomenal job. And every time, it was almost like he knew when San Francisco was going to blitz because he ran those little screen plays. He ran those little screen plays, chunk plays, and just it was like they could not get off the field. They could not get off the field all game long.
Go ahead, Blake.
Sorry, to your point about the winning games though in the MVP conversation, they're starting to win games now. They started 1-4, and they now they're 3-4. They're one game out of a playoff spot right now. They beat the 49ers, the best team in the NFC, possibly the best team in the NFL. In my
Coming into this game, they were.
Yes, for sure. And so, they're starting to piece it together, and they have a weak division this year. So the only tough team in that division is Detroit.
Yeah, and I don't think Brock Purdy played bad. The 2 interceptions late were bad, but other than that, he played really well. I mean, as no Debo, that was tough because Debo would have been a huge part for that, especially versus Flores defense that loves the blitz. That's the kind of game that Debo just catches a lot of screen plays, quick passes, and goes off. And that was big. But give Purdy credit. Purdy made a lot of good throws in that game, guys. He made a lot of good throws early on.
He did.
Jennings had a big drop, and they had McCaffrey fumbled on the first red zone trip, and so just things weren't going their way. He kept them in that game, but unfortunately, he made some bad throws late.
He made one crucial mistake.
Yeah.
Where even if the guy didn't get pushed off of his route, it was going to be an overthrown ball.
It was a timing problem. Yeah.
I think it was still going to get intercepted either way.
You're probably
it was
right.
A bad throw, and it was at the worst possible time. They just hit a couple of 10+ yards plays. They started moving down the field, and then that and I think that's a young mental mistake. He's still young. He's still very early in his career. That you can't make that play in that situation there. But I would go out on a limb and say, to your Debo comment, even more valuable who was missing in this game other than Debo was Trent Williams.
Yeah.
I think they could not get the running game really going without him in the game, and it forced them to have to throw the ball more and get out of what they're used to doing.
Yep.
Well, and we all know. I mean, the game operates and runs around CMC, and when he gets things going, it opens up the entirety of the offense. And we didn't really see the utilization or the scheme of CMC really in the run game at all. They pretty much got shut down, and up until they were starting to use him in the pass game more.
What worries me about San Francisco is they're very dependent on CMC and Debo. Like those two pieces together, the way they run that offense is so important. They have to be healthy.
Yeah, but you can say that about a lot of elite teams, other than Kansas City.
Other than Kansas City, that's why Kansas City's the best.
But they're very reliant on Kelsey, just one guy. Without Kelsey, it's a very different team without Kelsey. But you look at a lot of teams. The Dolphins don't operate the same way without Hill. And even when Waddle's out, they don't operate the same exact way. You have other teams. There's a lot of examples. On the other side of the coin, Minnesota is operating without their guys in an effective way right now.
Yeah, Addison has showed up. Hawkinson got 11 receptions, which is the most he's had all season, 12 targets.
Jeez.
And they did enough on the ground game. They didn't do anything special. But with Madison and Akers splitting the backfield, they did enough to get some respect to open some things up in the middle of the field.
Akers popped last night.
Yeah.
Akers was like, where's the Akers we've been that we knew. There's the Akers from L.A. that we knew and loved and liked for a little bit. So, hey, tip your cap to the Vikings because that was do or die. They lose that game, they're pretty much that's it. That was basically their Super Bowl.
Agreed. So the next one we want to touch on is the Miami-Philly game.
Oh, baby.
Now, this was one of those marquee matchup. Like, everybody's was super pumped about watching this one.
I mean, it was definitely the most hyped up game of the week for sure.
For sure. And Philly did what they needed to do. And kind of, I think, what we all thought they were going to do. Miami with the high-octane offense, but Philly came in. Nate, how did you feel about this game and the different nuances that came out of this one?
It was Philly did like you just said. Philly did exactly what they had to do. They controlled the time of possession, 36 minutes to 23 minutes. They ran 20 more plays than Miami. They controlled the line of scrimmage. They kept Tua in check. They didn't let they gave up one big play downfield. That was it. And that was like, and I don't think Philly played maybe their B- C+ game. They didn't even play that great, but they just dominated in the trenches, and they just punched them right in the mouth. They didn't let Miami run the ball. They made Miami one-dimensional. And Tua, guys, let's face it, I'm backing off my Tua stance now. Tua's not. He's just not good enough to play in the dog days, play against the best of the best, and get it done. He doesn't make plays off script. He only makes plays when he can step off that back foot and fire it in there. That's all he can do. You shut down the running game. You shut down a lot of things. Tua is just a guy, and I'm over it. There's a reason they've tried to trade him 5 times in the last 4 years. So, you guys, somebody else go. Cause
I think that's more of his durability, not because of the lack of talent. And I think that they've done a better job this season, especially based off of last year. His durability issues with all the concussions and all that stuff. That was the big question coming into this year. Can Tua be protected? And they have been able to answer that call so far this year. And if Tua can stay healthy, the team is better with Tua than they are without him.
Yeah,
and
they are. But Mike,
to say he's just a guy, I think is ridiculous.
I think he's just a guy. And Mike McDaniel, guys, he's done a phenomenal job at covering up how bad this offensive line is. And he's done a really good job at making Tua look better than what he is because of all this speed and the way they run this offense. This offense is revolutionary. It's different than any offense we have in the league right now. And Tua's, he's got a lot of toys to play with. He's got everything he needs. And in the end, they're a early season team. They're not a team that's built to win in the dog days and when it gets cold against the elite teams, against the elite quarterbacks, the elite offensive lines, defensive lines. It worries me. Guys, and I would just want to say, I'm going to say this right now. Yesterday's early slate, the quarterbacks, Brian Hoyer, Tyson Bagnet, Josh Dobbs, Jordan Love, Mac Jones, P.J. Walker, Gardner Minshew, Desmond Ridder, Baker Mayfield, Tyrod Taylor, Sam Howell. Those were starting quarterbacks last week. And I think Tua is at the top of that list of guys I just mentioned. He's not in the same list as your top-tier quarterbacks in this league, your Lamars, your Mahomes. He's not in that list. He's at the top of the list I just mentioned.
Blake, you're itching to respond. What do you think?
I know Blake's grinding his teeth here.
It's like one of the most wild things I've heard before because I would put him closer to Kirk Cousins than I would to any of those guys because you look at any elite quarterback other than the absolute special like Mahomes. That's a different cat, dude. Like Mahomes is going, in my opinion, going to be the best quarterback to ever play the game. That's a whole nother conversation. But he's special. He's done something that no, we're just not going to see. It's generational. Yeah. But any including Tom Brady, the GOAT, right now, the GOAT, including Tom Brady. If you get Brady off of his spot and he can't throw off of his back leg, then he's gonna
have a bad game.
Yeah, but Brady moved well. But Brady moved well within the pocket. He was very good at being. He wasn't a great athlete, but he was really good at keeping his eyes downfield and moving well within the pocket. And he was 6'5", and he could see over that defensive line.
Sure, but when you get Brady off of his spot, it's statistical. If you get Brady off of his spot, teams game plan around that. If we can move Brady off of his spot, we can get him to get on the move, he's statistically way worse than if he's throwing off of his back foot. And that goes for anybody, Kirk Cousins included. Like, there's a lot of quarterbacks in this league that you can say if they're not throwing off of their back foot and they're not stepping in their throws, then they're worse. Yeah, of course. But to say that you can throw any of those guys on that list into into his spot and do just as good as him, I think is
You don't think Gardner Minshew can step into that offense and play well? Sam Howell,
No, not
Tyrod Taylor,
not the way that Tua,
Josh Dobbs,
Yeah, I'm on Blake's side. on
Mac
this
Jones.
not
I
the
mean,
way that Tua has, and that the way that Tua can. I
I think
think
it matters one bit.
I think he's very careful, considering that he's been told that he should quit the game of football. Yet he's still playing, and he's got to take care of himself and not take as many hits.
That could be some of it. That could be some of the reason why he's
so.
not running. He's not trying to make plays outside of
Because
outside of the
he has
structure.
made some phenomenal throws, like on the dot, like throws that those guys cannot make. Yeah, I mean the
Come on, dude. Brian Hoyer, really?
the throw to Tyreek
That-
Hill.
I'm not saying he's
Sam
like
Howell?
Horry,
Really?
I'm just saying. Yeah, Sam Howell could play just as well in that offense.
No way.
Yeah,
no
no-
way.
Without a doubt.
No shot.
He's just a guy. Guys, Tua hasn't beat a winning team in 370 plus days. They're just beating up on the bottom feeders, and then when they play a real team, a team that's like championship contenders, Tua's just a guy in those games.
Right. We're talking about Tua
I'm just
operating in
saying.
the system versus these other guys.
I am just saying, like, it's not. There's a reason they've tried to trade him all this time, and they're gonna. And after this year, they're gonna keep looking for quarterbacks.
They also played the best defensive line in the league.
Yeah,
I mean
get it.
that, and it's not close. That Eagles defensive line is elite, and there's just no one close. It's just they're ridiculous.
Okay, so what's Miami's goal? What's their goal? To win 11 games and just have a good year and have good numbers and be the best offense in football? No, their goal is to win a championship.
Of course it is.
Are you winning a championship with Tua Tagovailoa?
I think you
at
could.
the Wareham?
I think you could if you tighten up some areas of your game. Other than I don't think the quarterback's the problem.
No, it's their defense.
Their
The defense is bad.
Their defense
Don't
is
get me
terrible,
wrong.
and their offensive line is not great.
No, the offensive line is terrible.
So I think that you're looking at so many other areas before you start pointing the finger at Tua.
I'm not. He's done he's done a better job than I said. Like, I've been down on Tua since the beginning. He's done a way better job than I thought he would do. So I was like, okay, I think Tua's just fine. And now I'm like, well, I don't know why I even said that so soon.
I mean, going into this week, he was the number one QB statistically.
Yeah,
I mean,
statistically.
I mean, it matters. It definitely matters. I think that
Against-
I think going off of one game against the best defensive line in the league when your offensive line isn't good says a lot about, other areas of your game that doesn't have to do with
Still
it.
it's not a
just-
shot.
But it's not just one game. It's like I just touched on 370, maybe 380 days since they've beat a team with a winning record.
Okay, but I'm not talking about wins. I'm talking about the way that he looks as a quarterback. I don't think that he has looked bad. I think he's looked good, if not great, for the majority of the season. It's one game.
He has been great.
Let's take a breath.
Against terrible teams.
But
He did what he was supposed to do.
you alluded to it earlier when we were talking. It's a defense in the NFL, and he's got to beat them.
Yeah.
So he's done that. He's winning games that he's supposed to win, and in the games against the big teams, he hasn't performed as well. But that's just because he had this game against, and it wasn't like he was absolutely dreadful in this game.
He
but
can't outrun a defensive tackle, guys.
that's not what he's being asked to do.
Yeah, but in modern
Nor what he needs to
But
do.
in the modern day game, it's you gotta be mobile. You gotta be able to run to your left, run to your right, make plays off script. When your first read, second read, third read's not there, you gotta go make a play. Can you imagine a quarterback in this offense that could just elude pressure and get out and make plays with all these weapons? Can you imagine? That's like a cheat code. Can
Okay,
you
so-
imagine how good they would be if they had somebody like that? And don't tell me that front office isn't thinking that as they're watching what they're seeing on the field versus
Yeah, but
the
who
elite
are they?
teams.
Who are they going to get that's going to be available? That's going to do a better job than him. Nobody's going to be available like that.
You can find
But-
someone.
But we're talking like who? Like who would be available in the league right
off
now?
the top of my head, I don't know, but we got a great draft class coming in. We're gonna have some free agents next year. So
Right, but I'm talking about the quarterbacks in the league right now. You're not going to find anybody better right now that is available in this league.
No, I'm not saying right this moment. I'm saying going forward. I'm saying like the next year, the following year. trust me, they're thinking about.
I just think it's too early for him still, with all of the injuries that he's gone through and all the stuff that he's gone through, and with his offensive line being bad and with their defense being bad, that it's too early to just be like, okay, we're done. When he's putting up the numbers that he's putting, like, that's the last place, in my opinion, to point the finger.
Hey,
like, at this point.
Yet to see.
Agree to disagree, Blake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the whole Waddle situation, though. I mean, he's got the back injury now. He's been in that. This dude's never been healthy.
He can't stay healthy.
And we know the talent that this guy possesses.
And
I mean, and essential in this offense.
It's extremely, yeah. He's the guy that stretches the field,
Yes.
along with Hill stretching the field, which opens up everything else. It opens up that run game more than anything, because you got to have two safeties deep on every single play against this offense.
Yeah.
Opens up everything else, and him being off the field, that could add something. That was critical in that game last week with him
Brutal.
in and out.
Really is brutal.
'Cause when he was in there, he was making plays.
Well, let's talk about the Buffalo New England game. Man, what is going on in Buffalo? Like, there seems to be a disconnect. You know, this was Mac Jones played well. New England's defense played well. Certain levels, to a certain extent. What else did you see throughout this game, or lack of disconnect with Josh, Diggs? What did you see?
Are you ready for it, Nate?
Go, baby.
The Buffalo Bills, hot take from Blake. Oh, hot take from Blake. The Buffalo Bills. Go ahead. Oh,
Oh, super jazzy. Which one did you want? Did you want the
more
yes.
exciting.
Yes.
I don't know.
What the heck was that?
Great title. Great title, Blake.
Okay, hot take from Blake. The Buffalo Bills will not make the playoffs this year.
Hey, I'm behind. It's right there, boys. Blake, that's a hot take. I'm behind you on there, buddy.
Is he smoking the cheap stuff today?
No, they got the Bucks this week on a short week. Then they got Cincinnati. Then they got Philly. Then they got Kansas City. Then they got Dallas. And they got the Chargers. Then they got Miami. And then they have the Jets. And then they have New England again.
It's a
in
tough
their
road
4-3.
It's
It's
I
scary.
think that they might go 9-8 and miss out.
So do you think that they right the ship, or that they're capable, or do you think that the pin's in the air? I mean, them missing the playoff, dude. That's an unprecedented statement.
It is, and I would have never said that, but I think point the finger. Well, not even pointing the finger, but we need to, we've been saying it the last couple weeks, Nate. We gotta be shouting at the Bills. You got to do something on defense, because Milano and what is it, Smith, that are out. I'm sorry,
Deacon Jones.
Jones. Sorry, they're missing pieces, very important pieces to that.
And White, Tre'Davious.
That's
White.
what it was, Tre'Davious White. Those three guys missing on that defense has made a world of difference.
But every team gets hurt. You
Sure.
can't. You can make that excuse. And like I said, Milano's the third most important player on this team behind Diggs and Allen.
Yeah.
He's the third most important player on this
Get
team.
on board with that.
And I am ready to I don't know what they have behind Ken Dorsey as far as play calling goes, but I'm done with Ken Dorsey. Ken Dorsey's you suck, dude. You're terrible. You're absolutely terrible. You're looking at your play sheet and you're just guessing, and you're making this team one dimensional. The offensive line we thought was getting better. They're atrocious. They had a 2-game stretch with Cook. He got it going, but ever since then it's just Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs go make plays, and it's just been absolutely awful. I can't. They're gonna have to. Like we talked about last week, Sammy, you said sell the farm, sell the ranch, keep that roof over. What's that roof? That's roof is Josh Allen. That's the roof.
Story checks out.
So are they at the trade deadline gonna go all in here? And that's the question. Because they're about to fall off this cliff. This is not good.
I don't think they have a choice.
They don't. I agree. I don't think they have a choice either.
You
got Josh. Got Josh.
I think there's a cohesion issue. I think there's something deeper. When you look at
I agree there.
the press conference that they had, there is a definitive disconnect here.
Yeah.
There is something going on behind the scenes that we're not seeing, because this was a team that had every shot in the world to win it last year.
Yeah.
And now not a lot has changed between last year and this year. So there's something that needs to be done. I don't know if obtaining new personnel is the answer.
On defense, though,
It's got to be.
Defense for sure, but I'm just saying that offensively they are off.
It's off. It's hit and miss. It's hit and miss. And like you just touched on about like the cohesion, everything that's like in training camp. Remember Diggs day one? Like he was pissed off of what happened at the end of last year. It lingered into this year. And then we thought they got it going, but they don't have it going. It is scary. And granted, they just played a division game. Belichick knows what to say to his guys in these types of games. He knows these Bills better than anybody. So that could be some of it. Mac Jones went 25 for 30, played really well. They kept Mac Jones didn't throw the ball. He didn't throw those 9 routes, those dumb passes. He threw the ball inside the numbers, middle of the field. You know, he played his best game of the season.
Miami's new quarterback, Mac Jones.
Hey,
better than Tua.
He'd be just as good as Tua in that offense.
Jeez, yeah.
Stop it is right.
Everybody's smoking the cheap stuff today.
Bailey Zappi, bring him to Miami.
Good stuff, baby.
Zap, zap.
Well, okay,
Bailey
so
Zappi.
Zap, zap.
two things that I want to say really quick about that. Number one, the Bills still put up 25 points. Like
Yeah.
it's not like they've just fallen off a cliff offensively, but I think that it speaks volumes that Diggs has been upset, and there's been that, tension with Allen, but Diggs and Allen still have a very good connection offensively. He had a fall, he wasn't as good this week. He was wide receiver 12, God forbid, but still, Diggs is still putting up phenomenal numbers and getting the job done. I think the reason it points even more to the fact that it's the play calling.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's something very wrong with what's going on, and then the defense is just absolutely off. It's just so bad.
That's why I don't think it's a personnel issue more than it is something internal.
I think offensively it's not a personnel issue. I think
I don't either.
Defensively it's a personnel issue, and offensively it has to do personnel with your coaching staff.
Offensive line personnel issues on offense.
True, that too.
But listen to this, guys. They've been outscored 30-10 in the first half in the last 3 games. That is just a recipe for disaster. That can't happen. And they're just down. And the Leslie Frazier, not being the defensive coordinator anymore, and Sean McDermott's now calling plays. Guys, it ain't working.
It's not.
It ain't working.
Clearly.
And I said this early in the year too. They let the wrong coach walk out the door, and Brian Daboll left.
Well, yeah.
Brian Daboll made that team into a perennial power.
Yeah.
He changed
one of the juggernauts.
He changed Josh Allen's whole way of doing things. He changed everything in that offense. It was these little details that were just. Everything was clicking, and they let the best. I know that's a hot take. I've had people say you're freaking crazy, Nate. Sean McDermott's great. That they let the best coach walk out the door. That they should have hired Brian Daboll and not and.
I've heard
and let
hotter
them-
takes.
But I'm just saying, that was
The
critical.
Bills missing the playoffs, I think, is hotter than
my
that.
And guys, we have 14 teams in the AFC that are right there that are a game behind Buffalo. So that's not really a hot take, guys. Like if you're really watching these games, Buffalo is not getting it done. And there's a lot of teams out there that are getting better as the year, and they're getting worse.
If they don't get better defensively, I
don't think they're gonna. That's
what
why they got to go on.
Do
free
what you need to
agency.
do on offense. I don't think it's so bad that you need to change a whole bunch of stuff. The play calling needs to be different. But if you don't get better defensively, it doesn't matter what you do. This team is not, especially with the schedule they have coming up. It's a gauntlet for them.
It's a gauntlet. Yeah, I think I already mentioned what the games
you
were,
did.
right?
You
Yeah.
did.
It's going to be interesting to watch.
Lord.
Well, another one that we want to touch on is the Baltimore-Detroit game, and Detroit got smacked in the mouth. Nate, I know this was one of your game plays as well, but tell us what happened in Detroit that it seemed like everything was clicking, everything was, and then here we go, we get vintage Lamar Jackson. What else did you see?
I think some of it was the Lions. This is one thing nobody really knew this. The Lions didn't practice on Wednesday because they have a lot of injuries across that board, and I don't know if that was some of it. They just weren't ready to go. They've had two or three straight games of just tough matchups, tough games, and finally, and they were on the road, and right off the bat, Lamar was clicking and this team speed for the Ravens is off the charts, and I love the way the Ravens have figured out this downfield passing game with Lamar's legs, with the running game. the way they're meshing it together, it's a thing of beauty. And the teams, like I just touched on, and this isn't just offense, this is defense too. This defense, I know I said it last week, you guys are crushing me, that the Cleveland Browns are the best team and the best defense in football. But right now, it's the Baltimore Ravens. We're on to a new week. It's the Baltimore Ravens right now. It might be
The latest and greatest defense brought to you by.
But in all seriousness, this defense has gotten
they're good.
healthier,
They're good.
and they were just
very good.
It's crazy. It's crazy, and it's cool to see. I like to see Lamar's not just before first read's not there, second read's not there. He just runs. Now he's moving left, right, and he's just as good at moving left as he is right, running and throwing. So, sky's the limit with this team, guys. I think they're the second best team in the AFC right now.
What I really liked to see was the fact that Lamar spread the ball around so much that there wasn't just one guy that stood out, but Bateman was involved. Andrews was involved for 63. Zay Flowers 4 for 75. OBJ 5 for 49. So you had everybody playing a part and doing their job, not dropping the ball like they did seven times a week before. Blake, what else did you see?
I mean, this is the type of passer that Lamar wants to be. He has said that many times.
And he's always been this passer. Just no one gives him credit for it.
It's true. But I think that he has just been historically known as a runner, and he's a phenomenal runner. He really is. He is just
elite runner.
Yeah.
Freak of nature.
He's just a ridiculous talent, but he doesn't want to run as much. He knows he needs to protect himself, and this is the kind of passer he wants to be. If this is the way that the Ravens are going to look going forward, offensively and defensively, look out. This is a Super Bowl contending team for sure. I agree with you, Nate. They are the second best team pushing Kansas City in the AFC. And top three in the NFL.
I just hope that they just yes, I agree, and stay healthy, guys. They're 16-1 against the NFC.
That's been a major problem.
The NFC, so
they can't stay healthy, and if they can stay healthy, man, it's gonna be interesting.
They play a similar they practice really hard like San Francisco does. That's why they have so many injuries. Teams like San Fran and in Baltimore, they just practice and hey. They're all in every year. Every year they're looking for that Lombardi trophy. That's what they're doing. So
I don't think though, on the other side of the coin, talking about Detroit, it's a bad game. Yes, they had a bad game. They did not look good. I think that there are reasons and pieces missing that contributed to that. It's not time to throw them out the window though. Let's not overreact. Their division's not very good. They're still one of the best 5 teams in the NFL. They're still going to be competing. Their coach is amazing. When they get Montgomery back, their offense is going to be more balanced.
Agree.
As far as the hard downhill running goes, because I think they missed that this week.
And you can use Gibbs in so many other ways when he's healthy.
And you alluded earlier when we were talking too that that Jared Goff is not necessarily a drop back passer, and I can agree with that to an extent. I think that they missed the play action with Montgomery this week a lot. They got a lot of junk time receiving. Gibbs got a lot of junk time receiving yards and receptions and all that stuff. But I think that having that power run game with Montgomery, who's just going to stick his nose up between the tackles and get yards and then, break off a few here and there. You were missing that this week a lot.
Montgomery's been a top 3 back up to this point, and so losing him was Gibbs looked good.
Yeah.
He looked good in this game. So that was one takeaway that you can be like, okay.
In garbage time.
He's still got the talent.
Yeah,
I have no doubt he's got the talent.
But and the issue with that, the reason why they utilized him in that situation was because they were playing from behind very, very early.
Yeah, I don't take any Lions offensive stats. I just throw them in the garbage for this game. This game was over in the first quarter. For this game.
Like you said, they forced Goff to throw. He threw the ball 53 times.
Yeah, I just worry about Goff playing outside in January if he's forced to be a drop back passer. It's going to be tough for them. But hey, they're going to be there in the end. They're going to have a shot. Let's see how it goes. Because they're still really good on the defensive and offensive line. And they've had some key injuries of late. Montgomery, that's a key injury. They can't do a lot of what they really want to do when Montgomery's not in there. So we'll see going forward. I'd say we just throw hey, this is the NFL. Sometimes you have that type of game, and you move on and learn from it. And Dan Campbell's going to have his guys ready to go next week.
Oh, they're going to be fired
up. No doubt about it.
Fired up. Yes.
Oh, I ain't worried about that. Not worried about that.
For sure, for sure. Well, let's talk about our last little note here, and that's our pie bet challenge game. We need to come up with a better name for this thing, which TBD.
Yeah.
But that being said, we're choosing the Jags at Pitt this week, and Blake, you have the honors of choosing this one.
The only thing I won this week.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Who beat you by 35 points this week in fantasy?
You did,
oh,
Sam.
Oh, that's right. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. No, thank you. There in the back, I saw you. Thank you so
Samuel,
much.
I am very proud of you.
Far and beyond the best team in that league. And there's some we could talk about that at a different time because there's some stuff to be said. But you have the best team, Sam. You bested me this week.
Yes.
Congratulations. My hat is off to you, the hat that I'm not wearing. But if I had a hat, I would tip it to you. I'm sticking with my Jaguars, who got it done for me last week against your Saints.
Yeah, that was depressing.
I'm going to take the Jags -2.5 at Pitt. I think that the Steelers, man, they're really good this year.
They're coming around.
I mean, I wouldn't say really good.
No.
Let me back off of that for a second.
Sneakily.
Yes.
Great coaching, mediocre quarterback, but they have enough talent on offense, and their defense plays well enough to where they're in games.
Yeah.
You know?
Hey, they're physical and fast, and they're playing like their head coach wants them to play with an attitude, baby.
Absolutely.
Pittsburgh's they've held their head above water, and now they're getting healthy and they're coming on. Watch out for Pittsburgh down the stretch here.
So, Nate, who do you like in this game?
Oh, jeez, I would have to go the Jags. I would lay it with the Jags. Jags are right up there with Baltimore, Kansas City. I would say there's three teams. Those are the 3 or 4 teams in the AFC.
They're definitely getting better week to week.
They are explosive on offense in every kind of way.
Well, and
Their defense is underrated.
yeah,
Underrated.
for sure.
What's that leave you with, Sam?
Well, no, it just puts me rooting for Pittsburgh for the first time in a very, very long time.
The 4-2 Pittsburgh Steelers. Who would have thought?
Pretty unbelievable. Well, that's going to do it for this week, guys. Just a friendly reminder to follow us on the socials and Patreon. You can look us up, Grunt Squad, to get all the picks each and every week. We thank you so much for joining us today. And until next time, gentlemen, I'll see you next week.
See you.
Take care, guys.